Skydiving had always been a bucket list activity for me, and I was finally able to experience it in the fall of 2019. As many of you know, I am also a major roller coaster and theme park enthusiast. So in this video, I will review my experience skydiving and compare how it feels to amusement rides. I went skydiving at Skydive Pepperell, which is located in northern Massachusetts, right on the border at New Hampshire. This was the closest location I could go skydiving at my old apartment. I got a discount package on Groupon. Upon arriving, there were two things I needed to do before skydiving. First, I had to watch an intimidating safety video warning all the participants about the inherent dangers of skydiving. It was dry and very serious, but understandable given the task I was looking to experience. This is your last chance to turn back and get a full refund. Second, I had to undergo some short training. As a novice, I was undergoing a tandem jump. The instructor would be responsible for most of the work, but I had two body positions I needed to help maintain. The first is called the bridge. Upon jumping out of the plane, I had to arch my head and legs upwards. This provides a stable position during the freefall. The other position is for landing. You must lift your legs up. The goal is to land on your butt and slide across the grass. If your legs land first, it's possible you could break your leg from the landing angle and speed. Once trained, I was dressed in a flight suit. The suit slid over the clothes I came in. I was a bit nervous I wouldn't be allowed to wear my glasses and appreciate the sheer height, but they were allowed provided I had a sports strap. Everyone is required to have protective eyewear for the descent. I just had a bulkier pair that could fit over my glasses. For a tandem jump, you are secured to the instructor. At this point, you move as one. The most nerve-wracking part of the experience is easily the anticipation. Beyond the fact you're about to jump out of a plane, the plane itself is actually pretty freaky. You board a small biplane with all the other jumpers. You're seated really low, and you're seated next to a window to take in the view, which is a constant reminder how high you're going. You also have a jump door that lets in a brisk breeze. This plane was also much choppier than a commercial aircraft. It bounced and bobbed the entire way up. It felt like I was in a perpetual state of turbulence. Once you reach the max altitude of 10,500 feet, or 3,200 meters, an alarm sounds and the jump door opens. This is your last chance to chicken out. However, you're not going to get a refund at this point, so you might as well jump. The jumpers then proceed single file towards the door. At this point, the instructor is in full control of your actions. Your instructor moves you towards the door and controls the moment you jump. So it's sort of like a drop tower in that regard. You don't necessarily know when you're going to jump. The wind is so loud, you will barely be able to hear your instructor, so even if you want to turn back at this point, I don't think he'd be able to hear you. The visual of having your toes on the edge of an open door of an airplane is one I will never forget. I've been on many tall roller coasters, but nothing that ever took me high above the clouds like this. The ground below you is indistinguishable. You're that high up. Then all of a sudden, you lunge forwards out of the plane and begin falling towards the ground. You have roughly 45 to 60 seconds of freefall before the final parachute kicks in. Going in, I thought the descent would feel like a 45 to 60 second long drop tower. I thought I'd get that stomach dropping butterfly sensation the whole way down like you get at most drop towers. But that was not the case. The descent felt more like the drop on Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens Tampa or Icaros at Gronalund. Those two drop towers are more about the visual, like skydiving, and feel different than the other drop towers out there because you're staring straight at the ground. The descent while skydiving and riding those two drop towers actually feels more like a roller coaster launch. You rapidly build up speed and feel the rush of wind against your face. Outside of that, there really isn't any traditional roller coaster or amusement ride sensations. There's no weightlessness or butterflies. But the visuals are incredible. There is nothing like accelerating towards the ground while adjacent to a few clouds. And slowly but surely, the landmarks down below start coming into focus. And this is all while you're sustaining that blistering speed. It feels like a coaster launch that never ends. And since you fall at 120 miles per hour, or 193 kilometers per hour, it's like experiencing the end of Top Thrill Dragster's launch continuously. Your cheeks will absolutely be forced back on your face. Keeping that bridge position wasn't too difficult, especially since your instructor will help you out. And once you get into that position, a small parachute will come out. This isn't the main one that slows you down. This one just assists your arched body position to keep you stabilized. It feels like the drop will never end, but after roughly 45 to 60 seconds, the main parachute comes out, and the deceleration is near identical to that of Falcon's Fury or Icaros. You rapidly swivel from staring at the ground to staring outwards. You end in a standing position. And for those worried about the safety of skydiving, you have the main parachute plus a backup parachute. The backup parachute will automatically deploy at a certain altitude if neither parachute has been activated. This is to safeguard against an instructor who could theoretically go unconscious or become incapacitated on the descent. The remaining descent towards the ground takes a few more minutes. The parachute has two handles, one on your left and one on your right. These steer you towards the landing zone, and the instructor offered me the opportunity to steer, which is pretty cool spinning so high above the ground. This slow, controlled descent offered a better opportunity to appreciate the fall foliage from a high altitude. The final landing was smooth. I lifted my legs as instructed and gracefully skidded across the grass. It was comfortable. The only awkward and comical part about the landing was that the parachute came down on top of both myself and the instructor. Eventually, I was removed from my harness and free to go, but not after thanking the instructor for a safe and memorable experience. Your instructor can play a major role in your experience. Mine was one of the more conservative ones. He jumped out of the plane face down and immediately went into the bridge position. I know others who have had instructors jump out of the plane backwards and then perform a flip or two. One of my friends who went skydiving with me at the exact same time had one of those instructors. I was the first one out of the plane. My friend was third, but he ended up on the ground a minute before me. That sort of shows how much more ambitious that instructor was. I already talked about how skydiving compares to roller coasters and drop towers, but there are three other rides I want to compare the experience to. The first are sky coasters. The initial descent does feel similar how you're staring at the ground, but the descent on sky coasters is so brief because of how soon you pull out. The second is Skyjump Las Vegas at the Stratosphere Tower. This attraction has quite a few similarities. The towering 855 foot or 261 meter tall height is taller than most amusement rides. And you have the visual of standing exposed at the edge of a platform high above the ground. And I actually think the initial descent on Skyjump is actually a hair scarier, since you control your fate. You actually get to jump off the platform on Skyjump, while for a tandem jump, your instructor controls when you jump. The sense of accomplishment jumping off a platform so high above the ground is indescribable. And this drop actually starts off with a brief fleeting freefall sensation. Now I think the visuals are superior as well, because you have the bustling strip beneath you, but the overall thrills are much less. The descent is controlled as you fall at a consistent 40 miles per hour or 64 kilometers per hour, which is just 1/3 of the speed of skydiving. The descent also takes place in a standing position. You also only drop for a fraction of the time of skydiving, but it is a neat experience, just a different one. The third ride I want to compare skydiving to is a Skad Tower. I rode nothing but net at zero gravity in Dallas last year. I have a separate review on this experience, but it is the best pure freefall I have ever experienced. It is better than any amusement ride or even skydiving in that regard. It's also more terrifying than anything I have ever done, including skydiving, since you drop with no bungees, no cables, or parachutes. You drop into a net just 13 stories below you. The ride's setup, combined with the fact the rider has to control their riding position on the descent, makes it downright terrifying. I actually landed wrong on my third ride, entirely my fault, and partially tore my meniscus. You are actually less likely to get hurt skydiving, since the instructor will help you into the proper riding position, and you have more time to get into those correct positions. So what would I rate skydiving? I would give the experience a 9 out of 10. It is an absolute adrenaline rush unlike anything you can experience at a theme park. The visuals and sustained speed are unbelievable. The actual sensations of the drop were not what I expected and pale in comparison to most drop towers, but the overall experience is far superior. I would take skydiving over most amusement rides that I've ridden. The experience was costly, but I'm certainly glad I did it, and I wouldn't hesitate to do it again one day. I'll probably just pick a different place with a different visual. So those are my thoughts on skydiving. Have you been skydiving? Or is this something you hope to try one day? I would love to hear your thoughts about this activity down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and Muse Park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.